What's good, guys? We're back from UFC Vegas 100, heading into UFC 309, which takes place in Madison Square Garden, New York City. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Can't talk about next week without talking about last week, so let's talk about how we did last week. Only got one pick wrong. Cortavious Ramiz. Really? That's the only pick that I got wrong. I could have clean swept this card. And I will clean sweep one card. I'm coming for you. I don't know what card. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know when. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow. I don't know. Pero I will be champion one day, and I will get a clean sweep on this entire card. So, one pick wrong. Lock of the week hits, but we know that the lock of the week was Chalky Locky, but he finished it inside the distance. And one thing I want to mention was 2 out of the 3 bonuses hit, but the over 1.5 did not hit. This McGhee. I feel bad, though. I feel really bad for McGhee after seeing him go out like that. I've never seen McGhee ever go out like that in his entire career. So the fact that we saw McGhee go out like that, he's never going to be the same again. So it sucks that they have to feed a guy like Neil Magny to a guy like Carlos Prates. But we got entertainment out of it. So let's head into UFC 309. Let's get it. And I want to mention we were on a 7-fight lock of the week streak, my longest lock of the week streak I've ever had. That being Brian Battle, Roman Dolidze, Ramazan Temirov, Charles Johnson, Lerone Murphy, Mike Malott, and now Mansour Abdul Malik. So what I said was heading into 309, I have a very good lock of the week in store for you guys. So let's get it. I'm not going to drop it here. I'm going to drop it on Wednesday. But we're going to be breaking down this entire card. Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic, Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler. Finally, Michael Chandler's fighting. Last time Michael Chandler fought was what? Like 3 years ago. He's been waiting for Conor McGregor forever. This guy's been waiting for Conor McGregor since I became a UFC fan. This guy was waiting for Conor McGregor. All right, let's get into it. Veronica Hardy. And, bro, that 7 lock of the week streak feels good. Feels good, man. It feels really good. The reason I have this is because the light tends to mess up with my eyes a little bit. So I don't actually look like a nerd. I don't actually look like a fucking geek. All right, so let's get into it. Have you heard of Uber Direct? No, I haven't. These ads are terrible. Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Moura. It's funny because Eduarda Moura is literally my name without the A. So that's the funniest. Like, it's like if like my name was Michael and there's a girl, or if my name was Jordan. Or no. Look, if my name was Michael and there was a girl and she's named Michaela. So it's actually kind of funny. All that aside, let's get into it. Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Moura. Veronica Hardy would have been my profile picture if Manafort did not exist. I was actually thinking of putting Veronica Hardy as my profile picture because I wanted a good, solid, entertaining women's MMA fighter. So I put Manafort up. Veronica Hardy, though, is a beast. Veronica Hardy, 5-time Taekwondo champion, solid power, good footwork, technical striker. She is light on her toes, light on her feet. She's very fast, bounces on her toes, then charges forward with lefts and rights before circling out. She's not just a clean striker. She also has clean takedowns, great game planning, of course, high fight IQ, and she can get a fight to the ground if she needs to, which is one of my most important aspects of Veronica Hardy. I want them to be well-rounded when I choose a girl that I like. It's because I like her skills, I like how she looks, and I like if she's well-rounded or not. So when we look at this fight, honestly, it's going to be a very competitive fight. If she needs to, she can get this fight to the ground. She's coming off of that decision win over J.J. Aldridge when she was fast. She was fast as hell, and it was clear that she was the technician. She's taking on Eduarda Moura. Eduarda Moura just recently lost to Denise Gomes, where she had a takedown. She had takedowns, but she just couldn't hang in the striking department, and she might lose the same exact way she lost to Denise Gomes to Veronica Hardy. Gomes, she got completely outstruck, had a couple of takedowns on her way, and then she just lost that decision. Moura is a grappler with good takedowns, good subs, very aggressive, though, with grappling, and doesn't waste time to go across the cage. So she crosses distance very well. My notes are a little bit all over the place, but Veronica can bang. She's Q2. NYC might give more credit to control time than damage. You know, sometimes with these judges, when we're in Madison Square Garden, sometimes they give more credit to the control time than damage, and we could get a little eerie split decision. Honestly, I think Hardy gets it done. I think if she gets taken down, she should be able to get right back up. And also, one of her most important aspects of Veronica Hardy is her corner, Dan Hardy. by far one of the most greatest masterminds of all time, Dan Hardy. This guy is, if not the best coach you could ever have. In my opinion, Dan Hardy is one of the greatest masterminds of all time. He's a very smart fighter, and also maybe he didn't have that much success in his UFC career, but it shows that he has learned a lot from the fight game, and he gives all his lessons and all of his teachings to a girl like Veronica Hardy. So it's a great combo. They're a great duo. So give me Veronica Hardy to win this fight by decision. 29-28 split, 29-28 Eduarda Moura, and then 29-28 split for the winner by unanimous decision, by split decision, Veronica Hardy. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight, very close competitive fight. But I just feel that Veronica Hardy, if she gets taken down, she needs to get right back up, and she needs to keep this fight in the middle. You have to keep this fight in the middle. If you don't keep this fight in the middle, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, and a girl like Eduarda Moura can get her wrestling down and then just lay on top of you and control you. Veronica Hardy's going to be the pick, and I think she's going to be a contender one day. I know this is kind of crazy to say. Oban Elliott versus Bassil Hafez. Very top-heavy card. We know as we get, as we get deeper into the card, it gets more stacked. But we know that at the beginning, the prelims aren't as good as the prelims should be. So that's why a lot of people were saying that this card is very lackluster. And I agree when you look at the prelims. But I'm here for Charlie Olives. Oban Elliott, honestly, very top-heavy card. 12 fights. Maybe one might get added. We don't know. Oban Elliott, he has very good cardio. He can fight for 15 minutes. Plenty of cardio. Tons of tools in the bag. When he's striking, he likes to dance around the cage, dance around, then fire off overhands. He'll come right in, fast, athletic, flashy spins. Crazy, crazy accuracy. His takedown defense is okay, though. He is taken down. Then he works to his feet well. And what I like about him is he doesn't chase subs. He doesn't chase submissions that aren't there. He's coming off of that decision win over Preston Parsons where they exchanged takedowns, but Oban had the cleaner striking. He's taking on Bassil Hafez. Heavy-handed grappler. Striking is very, very, very powerful. And he's not really a striker, though. He's very tough, has a ton of power. But his most important aspect for Hafez is his good blast double leg takedown. He looks to maintain position while raining down elbows. We know we got that 12-6. We saw Robertson throw a 12-6. Not the way I expected Robertson to throw it, but she threw it. I think Bassil Hafez, if he gets this fight to the ground, those 12-6 elbows can be important. His cardio can fade a bit, though. He's coming off of that busy win over Gall, where he had 3 takedowns, and Oban is the favorite. His cardio should be the difference. He doesn't have the power to finish Hafez, and if Hafez can pressure him, get him down, drag him against the cage, he can win. But the pick is going to be Oban Elliott. The reason why I'm picking Oban Elliott is because this guy is what a prospect looks like. He comes from Wales. Majority Tapology is going to go with Oban Elliott, but I'm going to go Oban Elliott by decision. 29-28 after losing the first round. We know a guy like Hafez has lost to guys like Jack Della Maddalena, and I remember when everybody was saying, Hafez won that fight. He won that fight against Jack Della Maddalena. He won that fight. There's no way he lost that fight, and now look at how he's aged. He's going to decision with a guy like Gall, who is, we're going to talk about later in the UFC breakdown, but a guy like Gall is a guy who beats CM Punk and Sage Northcutt. I don't think that's the best guy you want to go to decision with. But we know Bassil Hafez is very new to the UFC, so make what you want with that. Give me Oban Elliott to be too quick with the striking, too clean in the striking department, have great head movement, maybe get taken down once, but then as he's setting his rhythm, getting his pace down, downloading the data, he's able to have a successful second and third round and win a hard-fought 15-minute battle after winning by unanimous decision 29-28. Minus 155. If he's a minus 155 right now, I recommend you take him. He's going to be a big favorite by the time the first round ends. So, give me Oban Elliott to win this fight by unanimous decision 29-28. Gall versus Ramiz Brahimaj. This is probably the worst fight on the entire card. These odds are dead even, though it's not the worst fight on this card. This card's good. This card's good. Let's be optimistic. 2 tomato cans. Gall, he's a pretty good grappler. And he has good submission wins. He has good subs wins both off his back and when he's on top. If you can watch him fight, it's a bit raw. He doesn't look like he's been in the UFC for 10 years, but he has started his career in the UFC. He beat CM Punk and Sage Northcutt. Then Gall started losing and never got better. At 32 years old, a bunch of experience, but not much after that decent. Like, he has a bunch of experience, but not much after that. He has decent hands, decent grappling, decent wrestling. He's taking on Ramiz Brahimaj. He's a very high-level grappler, and his grappling accolades are very, very notable. He doesn't use his grappling that much. He grapples off his back sometimes. When he strikes, he does have some good power in his hands, but he doesn't have enough power to win in just striking. All of his 10 wins are by submission. Very easy to say he's a submission guy or bust. He's coming off of that decision loss to Themba where he could not defend the takedowns. Yes, he can work off his back, but it's 2024, and when you look too much time working off your back for submissions, you tend to lose the decision because of how elite these grapplers are. Honestly, the UFC is way more elite now than it was back then. Maybe you could get away with just jiu-jitsu back then, but now you have to be well-rounded. Sometimes he doesn't work an offensive takedown. His scrambling skills are okay, and the odds are dead even. But betting on a low-level fight like this is something you need self-control for. If you can skip this fight, do it. I think self-control is one of the most important things you could ever have, and you need it for fights like this because a guy like Ramiz, Brahimaj, and Gall should no longer be in the UFC at all. I don't think we should even have to look at fights like this on a card like 309. But if I have to make a pick, I'm going to go Gall, and I know this is going to be very, very questionable. It's going to be a very close fight. You know, Ramiz Brahimaj has finishes in all of his last 10 wins. But we know that if he doesn't get a submission, he's going to lose by decision. Gall is on a 3-fight losing skid. He's lost to Alex Morono. He's lost to Mike Malott. And he's lost to Bassil Hafez. And this is really bad because this is one of those fights that you do not want to touch. Honestly, with a 10-foot pole, minus 1-800 gambler fight right here. Give me Gall to win this fight, and give me him to win this fight by a very, very sloppy, ugly decision. Ramiz Brahimaj playing on the ground, trying to get a submission. And we know this is New Jersey versus the Bronx. So this is actually going to be a NYC battle. A battle for New York. Who's gonna win this? RIP Pop Smoke. Alright, Gall is going to be the pick. Maybe I do an official pick flip later this week. My official pick flips tend to hit. They tend to hit really good. So give me Gall to win this fight by decision. After a hard-fought battle of grappling exchanges, wrestling, fighting off of the submission attempts of Ramiz Brahimaj. And I think Ramiz Brahimaj is a guy who, if he's going to win by finish. But in my opinion, take money line. If you're going to take somebody, take money line on either side. If not, take both of them on 2 different slips. One of them is going to win. Give me Gall to win this fight by decision. Very low confidence pick, if not my lowest confidence pick of the entire card. Marcin Tybura versus Jonathan Diniz. One of my most anticipated fights. I'm glad this fight was on this card because if it wasn't, it would have been an 11-fight pay-per-view. Imagine if we had an 11-fight pay-per-view. The fight that we just had at UFC Vegas was 11 fights, and that fight card was better than Canada's fight card. So it's insane that a fight like Fight Night yesterday can have more finishes than an entire Canadian card. With that being said, Diniz was supposed to fight 2 events ago against Derek Lewis, but Derek Lewis pulled out, so they quickly rebooked him against Marcin Tybura, and I'm glad he's on this card because we have 12 fights because of him. Tybura's haircut is always awesome. He's a durable grinder, never quits, busy everywhere. His striking is okay, a lot of punches and bunches for a heavyweight. He doesn't have the best power. He usually uses his strikes to stay busy, and then he's there to set up the takedowns. If he gets a takedown, he will pound on you until you quit. Averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight. And he has a low 33% takedown accuracy, but he will stick with it. He has a great double leg and body lock. He's coming off of that first round submission loss to a very good grappler in Sergey Spivak. He's taking on Brazil, Jonathan Diniz. Very good striker, clean technique, infringing power. He does throw in combos, clean defense, good speed for his size, professional kickboxing experience. His takedown defense is solid, but is fairly untested. He's 8-0, but he doesn't have... So he's 8-0, but he does have 7 stoppages coming off of that win over Carl Williams, where he won by unanimous decision, where he landed big early, looked great, and then Carl Williams got him down, where Diniz was on his back, and this guy looked useless off his back. He couldn't do shit off of his back so far. For that reason, you could pick Tybura, but we know Tybura is old, and we saw how useless Diniz looks on the ground when he's off of his back. Tybura is old. He will have to eat some shots to get through, and he's going to have to definitely eat a big overhand or a big right down the center just to try to get this guy down. Very, very good fight. Tybura is going to be the pick, but you know the money's going to be on Diniz heavy. So when I look at this fight is going to be one of those fights where it's going to be crazy. I can definitely see how Jonathan Diniz can win this fight, and I'm on the fence for this fight because I know a lot of people like Tybura. And Tybura's like a plus 100, and Jonathan Diniz is minus 128 right now. So the odds are very close. So take whoever you want. Take Diniz right now if you want. And I know Diniz can definitely win this fight by KO. But we know that a guy like Marcin Tybura is going to need to eat some shots in order to get through. And for that reason, I think I'm going to just go Jonathan Diniz. Very close fight. But if you're on Marcin Tybura, I can definitely see why you're on him. He can just get things going, get the pace going, make this a sloppy fight, get Jonathan Diniz to the ground, and definitely implement his game plan. It's going to be a very close fight, and I think the odds represent that. We know majority Tapology is picking Diniz to win by KO, and that could happen, but when Marcin Tybura, if Marcin Tybura gets a guy like Jonathan Diniz on the ground, everybody's going to be quiet. And I don't like stuff like that where people just ignore the fact of reality where this guy has some weird get-up game. Like, this guy struggles to get up. He needs the round to end in order for him to start back up on his feet. Not all the time, but we know that he could have implemented his wrestling takedown defense way better. I think Derek Lewis was a way more favorable matchup for him. But I'm going to go Jonathan Diniz. Very low confidence pick. I want to pick Marcin Tybura. I really do. But the age, 39 years old, and you're fighting a newcomer. Sometimes it's very hard for the vet in order to get this job done. So I'm going to go Jonathan Diniz. Very low confidence pick, though, because we know the grappling upside is on Tybura. But Tybura is not the best grappler as well. We know a guy like Jonathan Diniz should be able to implement his game plan. Maybe walk down. Just don't be like No Robelis of Spain and just give up the takedown and then just do nothing. That's what I don't like. So I don't want to fall into that trap. Give me Jonathan Diniz. Very low confidence. And give me him to win by unanimous decision. Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson, very close fight, another very competitive fight as well. Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson, always tough, Jersey tough. Jim Miller versus new hair Damon Jackson. Jim Miller's a legend, has multiple records in the UFC for longevity. He's the only fighter to ever fight at UFC 100, 200, and 300. That is crazy. Think about how drastic the gaps are between UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300. That is a record that nobody will ever break. Or maybe they will, but in a long time. He has very clean boxing, okay wrestling, veteran savvy, definitely starting to show his age, but he continues to defy it in the octagon where he always shows up on weight, always ready to go. This is a company man. This is what a company man looks like. Jim Miller, 41 years old, coming off of that one-sided loss to Bobby Green at UFC 300. He's taking on Damon Jackson, basically a bigger Jim Miller, but his striking isn't as good as Jim Miller's. He's a very good grappler, snatches things up and scrambles. He's willing to slug it out on the feet and sets up a takedown. Low takedown accuracy, but it's because he shoots over and over. His nickname is the Leech because if he gets you down to the ground, it's hard to get him off of you. Solid control, good rolls, and he rolls with you as well. He looks for subs. He's coming off of that tough loss to Chepe Mariscal, where he showed toughness, but Chepe just beat him to the exchanges, winning the scrambles, and Chepe had good pressure. Picking against Jim Miller isn't easy. Damon has showed striking improvements, and Miller's a black belt. But the sport's changed. I think Damon can even take down Miller, cruise to a decision. My biggest concern is Jim Miller's striking. Honestly, he got a black belt like 20 years ago. And the sport is different now. But you can make what you want with that. Jim Miller's always a guy who's always going to be a boss. He's always going to be that guy. He's always going to be a company man. And a lot of people are always going to have respect for him. Majority Tapology is going to pick Jim Miller. I want to pick Jim Miller as well. And a guy like Damon Jackson, who lost to Elliott, who lost to Chepe Mariscal, he did look pretty competitive in that fight. And the fact that both of these guys have a very high threshold for pain. As much as, we can make fun of a guy like Damon Jackson getting knocked out by Elliott, these guys have a very high threshold for pain. We saw that in the Bobby Green fight. Jim Miller's face is leaking, and he's still walking down, eating shots, just trying to run the time out. And the fact that both of these guys haven't gotten finished in both of their last fights, and these guys are over 40, is insane. I mean, obviously, Damon Jackson's 36 years old, but you can consider Damon Jackson 40 years old without that new hair transplant. Right now, very low confidence pick. I'm going to go Damon Jackson. Low confidence. I want Jim Miller to implement the grappling. I feel like this is going to be a pick that ages like milk. But I want Jim Miller to implement his grappling, implement his wrestling. But we know his takedowns sometimes are a little telegraphed. And we know if a guy like Bobby Green can set up the jab, set up the pace, he can set the distance. And I would love for Jim Miller to win at 309 because he wasn't able to win at 300. I'm going to go Damon Jackson to win this fight. Maybe I do an official pick flip on Friday, but for right now, I'm going to go low confidence Damon Jackson to win this fight. I think he should be able to pick apart Jim Miller, and he could get some takedowns himself. One of those fights that it's not bad if you want to skip this fight. Not bad at all. Give me Damon Jackson to win that fight. Low confidence. Chris Weidman versus Eryk Anders. Ya boy. Chris Weidman versus Eryk Anders. Dude. I don't know about this fight. Mr. Weidman, former world champ. He beat Anderson Silva twice. And he's also funny at times, sometimes on the weigh-in show. Former middleweight champion of the world. He was the first champion out of Sarah Longo's gym. He's a great wrestler, wrestled in college, solid striker, likes to eye poke though. He is 40, he's coming off of that double eye poke over Bruno Silva. He's taking on Eryk Anders, an athlete who can wrestle, can strike, competed at multiple sports at high level, mixes it up, and he mixes his combos very good as well. But he keeps his hands low, and sometimes that could be his demise. His path to victory in most fights is to wrestle aggressive and speed and use his physicality on his opponents. Often he's more athletic and more physical. He's coming off of that win over Jamie Pickett, where he looked strong, but he got dropped by Jamie Pickett. Not a good look. This is a setup to give Weidman a win. New York guy. Let's get him in the New York card. Who can we get for Weidman to beat? Weidman is a dog post-USADA. Weidman looks a lot better than when he came off of that leg injury. He's the better fighter. Anders didn't look great against a guy who's not UFC caliber and was cut. But I can definitely see how Eryk Anders can win this fight. Honestly, I like Chris Weidman. I would like Chris Weidman to win this fight again. I chose him. I'm not sure. I think I chose Chris Weidman over Bruno Silva. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I got to double check on that, though. Majority Tapology is going to go Chris Weidman. I'm going to go Chris Weidman as well. Give me the dog. I know a lot of people are going to go Eryk Anders, but we know a guy like Eryk Anders is a guy who tends to make fights a little bit more competitive than they need to be. And Weidman, let's get some more eye pokes in there. Come on, man. We got to do what we got to do to win, so I poked the shit out of Eryk Anders. Nah, I'm just kidding. You might actually get disqualified for that this time, and a lot of people might think that you're doing it on purpose. I think these odds should be a lot closer than they need to be. I think Chris Weidman looks a lot better since when he came off of that leg injury. He looked really bad when he came off of that leg injury. And now he looks way better. Another low confidence pick. Give me Chris Weidman to win this fight by unanimous decision. I think the over 2.5 should hit unless Eryk Anders has some crazy power and he's just dropping some elbows from on top if he gets Chris Weidman down. I think Chris Weidman's good. But he's 40 years old and he's versing a 37-year-old. What are we doing? Barn burners? We just went to the retirement home, grabbed all the old people and just put them on UFC 309. That's what it looks like. I'm going to go Chris Weidman, All-American. Come on, baby. New York City, Madison Square Garden. Another win for Chris Weidman in New York City, Madison Square Garden over Eryk Anders after Eryk Anders is complaining because his eye is being poked. So, give me Chris Weidman to win this fight. Very close, competitive fight. Very low confidence pick. I recommend you skip that fight, to be honest. But if you have to pick, I'm going to go Chris Weidman. Let's go. Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGhee. This is a fight that a lot of people are excited for. Martinez is a beast. He is a treat to watch all the time, and so is Marcus McGhee. Two very good fighters, but at very different points in their career right now. Jonathan Martinez looked amazing. He worked his way up. Had a very good finish over Adrian Yanez. Sorry, put together some good wins. And then he lost to Jose Aldo. He's looking to bounce back from that loss. McGhee, only 10 fights into his career, looking unbelievable. Very good fight. Jonathan Martinez is a very well-rounded guy. Technical striking, slick BJJ. He also has Muay Thai style. Hands up, very high guard. Uses his kicks, and he uses his kicks to control range. He doesn't wrestle often, but he has good subs and scrambles. Coming off of that loss to Jose Aldo. Yes, Jose Aldo looked good, but Jonathan Martinez looked frozen. He looked completely frozen that entire fight. He's taking on Marcus McGhee. Insanely powerful guy with heavy hands. One-punch KOs all over his career. His takedown defense is solid. He's got slick subs. He uses scrambles. He gets up. He gets a good pace. Carries his power late into fights. Coming off of that win over Gaston Balanos. who we just saw win at UFC Vegas 100 against Ramiz. In fact, he was the only underdog to win in that entire card at UFC Vegas 100. So, Gaston Bolanos is a very good win for Marcus McGhee. Marcus was hittable in that fight, but we saw the wrestling and we saw the power McGhee always puts on him. Honestly, I think McGhee has some of the most amazing striking and amazing trajectory to win this fight, but I do think that Marcus McGhee has a great YouTube channel. He always posts his steaks and he posts how he's always like doing a cooking with Marcus McGhee, so I recommend you guys should watch it. It's a very good channel. Honestly, it's going to be a very competitive fight. Marcus McGhee's gas tank is my only concern. Honestly, I think Marcus McGhee gets it done. He has far more dangers. He has more paths to victory with wrestling and power. My only concern for Marcus McGhee is his gas tank. He has so many finishes. We don't know how his gas tank is going to look. It would suck if in the late third round this fight gets tricky and Martinez's high volume and cardio is putting Marcus McGhee to the test. I think I'm going to trust Marcus McGhee. It's going to be a very close competitive fight. I think Marcus McGhee should be able to win this fight. It's crazy because Tapology is all over the place. Tapology is choosing Martinez to win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Martinez wins this fight. I like how the odds are close on this fight. I recommend you take somebody money line. Just take somebody money line. Somebody's going to win. Give me Marcus McGhee, the Maniac, to win this fight by unanimous decision and his power to be on full display. I think he even could drop a guy like Jonathan Martinez. But we know a guy like Marcus McGhee has finished almost all of his fights inside the distance. So if he's in the third round, well, you know we've seen him in the third round, but we never seen him go to a decision. If he's in the third round and he's looking, it's 1-1 going into the third round, he's tired. Jonathan Martinez puts the pace, puts the volume. Jonathan Martinez ekes out a split decision. Honestly, very close competitive fight. Give me the over 2.5 and give me Marcus McGhee to win this fight by 29-28 unanimous decision after dropping Jonathan Martinez in the second round. Very close competitive fight. Honestly, one of my most anticipated fights of the entire card right after this one. Mauricio Ruffy versus James Llontop. Opening up the main card for UFC 309, Mauricio versus James Llontop. Ruffy is a beast from Fighting Nerds. We just saw Carlos Prates put Fighting Nerds on full display after that win over Neil Magny. And Mauricio Ruffy has huge fight-ending power. He has 10 wins with 10 stoppages, throws heavy 1-2s, and he's fast and he's clean. He's not just a boxer. He'll launch kicks right up the middle, defend takedowns really well. He'll defend takedowns really well. Honestly, I think a guy like Mauricio Ruffy is going to be put on full display at UFC 309, and they picked the perfect guy to start up the main card. He launches kicks right up the middle, defends takedowns really well. I seen him carry power into the third round, which was nice to see. His cardio is decent. He's coming off of that win over Jamie Malarkey, where his timing and speed was incredible. He felt himself so much. He tried the scissor sweep takedown, and that looked absolutely beautiful. It looked like straight out of a fucking movie. James Llontop, pretty well-rounded guy himself. Solid striking, good combos, good body work. Doesn't wrestle, but if he gets taken down, he has solid, good enough grappling, and he should be able to get right back up. Honestly, I think his get-up game is very good. He has good power in his hands, good cardio, so no need to worry if he's a KO or a bust guy. He's a dangerous guy. He can hang, but he is not a technician. He will make up for him not being a technician with his blind forward pressure. James is a tough guy, and he's not easy to get out of there, but Ruffy will be a problem. He will probably even get him out of there. Looks like Prime McGregor at times, just like little glimpses of it. James is a punching bag, another showcase performance from Fighting Nerds on top. After defending some good takedowns from Llontop, clean striking, and KO this punching bag. Honestly, he has all finishes in all of his last 10 fights. I wouldn't be surprised if he even finishes a guy like Llontop, but a guy like Llontop is very, very tough. Very, very tough. Chris Padilla was able to submit him, but we know Chris Padilla is very good. Borishev went to split decision with him. I remember everybody was on Llontop, and now that we know who Llontop is, we know that this guy's a punching bag. Give me Mauricio Ruffy to win this fight by KO in the third round, late third round, if not by decision. I'd recommend take double chance, but we never know. This guy tends to get submitted. Mauricio Ruffy could just pull a guillotine out of nowhere and just get a win. Gonna be a competitive fight, though. Honestly, this is one of my most anticipated fights on the entire card. So give me Mauricio Ruffy to win this fight inside the distance, specifically late third round KO, if not by 29-28 unanimous decision. Awesome card, man. Awesome. Great card. Sorry if I'm taking a little longer, guys. Karine Silva versus Viviane Araujo. Battle of the hairs. Battle of the curls for days. Karine Silva has a cool hairstyle. I think she wins. Not to spoil it. Also, Silva's a powerful grappler, constantly working for submissions, both on top and on bottom. She has 18 wins with 17 stoppages and throws. And those are mixed. And those are a mixed bag of ground and pound and submissions. So she has 17 stoppages out of her 18 wins. And out of those stoppages, it's a mix between ground and pound and submissions, which is very important to look that she has good ground and pound and good submissions. Her bread and butter is the grappling department. She plots forward, nice tight guard on the feet, throw a flurry of punches, and then rush into a body clinch, cage work you to the ground. While she's on the ground, she works for positions and then submissions. She's coming off of that first career decision over Ariane Lipski, where she had the takedowns in control, and it was nice to see she could go the distance. She's taking on Viviane Araujo. She's also a good grappler, good striking as well, and she has technical boxing, good kicks, but she doesn't hit. She does get hit pretty often and has a negative striking differential. She's athletic, fast, always looks for a finish, but her conditioning can be an issue because all of her pressure she brings sometimes can make her gas. She averages almost 2 takedowns per fight and has an impressive 78% takedown defense, and she's coming off of that decision loss to Natila Silva. Karine Silva is very good. Good matchup, very good matchmaking, great fight for the main card, and a great test to see how good she is. We just saw her win her first decision, so we needed that in order for her to have more success against a veteran. Karine is a minus 265. The value is gone. Maybe the over 2.5, but that's sketchy as well because this girl's a very high finisher. We saw a girl like Gillian Robertson, everybody say, oh, under 2.5. Even me, I said this girl's going to finish her inside the distance, and she wasn't even able to finish her. But we know that it's MMA. Anything can happen. So you never know. Maybe Karine inside the distance or no action is what I like. Viviane Araujo is a veteran, 12-6. Her record speaks for itself. Honestly, journeywoman of the UFC. Karine Silva should be able to just absolutely run through her. Majority topology speaks for itself. And give me Karine Silva to win by decision. Method of victory, straight, sprinkle. Give me Karine Silva to win inside the distance, sprinkle. And then give me the over 2.5, sprinkle, because Viviane Araujo is a very tough girl. As much as people like to talk trash about her, she's 37 years old and by far one of the toughest girls in the flyweight division. Obviously, she's not that elite, maybe, now that we're speaking of her. But every time I watch Viviane Araujo fight, it's always a good fight and it's always entertaining. So I'm glad that we still have women like her in the UFC. In order to complete and put the cherry on top to a perfect main card. Honestly, the main card is why I'm going to be watching this fight. Because the prelims are not that good. And they look like they could be a little sketchy. Like they could be a little boring. But I have very good hopes for UFC 309, and I think this main card is going to be amazing. I think this main card is going to save the entire pay-per-view. Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig, the Bear Jew. The Bear Jew. the Bear Jew. Bro, what kind of fucking nickname is that, bro? So, let's break it down. Bo Nickal versus Paul Craig. Bo Nickal, one of the best middleweight prospects we have ever seen, taking on Paul Craig. Bo Nickal was getting slow rolled. He was actually set to fight Tresean Gore, and we saw Tresean Gore call him out. We know Tresean Gore don't want that smoke. He's 6-0. This fight is a giveaway fight for him. Bo, Division I national champion. He missed the Olympic team. He's a Division I national champion out of Penn State. Incredible wrestler. Transitioned to MMA. Strikes as little as possible, and he works takedowns. Gets his jiu-jitsu going. His judo is very good. In fact, he strikes so little that he's landed a total of 23 significant strikes in his career over 6 fights. That's really low. Coming off of that second round submission over Cody Bumditch, Paul Craig, dangerous grappler, incredibly tough. If he has room to grapple, be careful because Paul Craig is a subspecialist. Bo Nickal's a very good grappler, grappling against Gordon Ryan. He lost that, but no punches were included, and it's not in his actual record. So he got to learn from that Gordon Ryan loss. And he didn't get finished in that fight, so he held his own. Paul Craig is not Gordon Ryan. This game plan will be interesting because I think Bo Nickel might want to strike because Paul's BJJ is tricky. So when I look at this fight, I know a lot of people were on Paul Craig. You know, I was watching, I was like, damn, a lot of people are going to be on Paul Craig. But when I see this, I can see Bo Nickel striking. I need more strawberry lemonade. I need more. Order up. I need more strawberry lemonade. The main card's about to start. Bo Nickel, I think he's going to strike a little bit more. Sometimes he falls in love with his hands. His win over Val Woodburn was amazing. Obviously, the submission win over Cody Bumditch was good. We saw Cody Bumditch have some good success early. A little bit more success than I expected him to. But Bo Nickel was still able to finish him. Val Woodburn was by far one of my favorite KOs from Bo Nickel because of the step-in, range, distance control, off the break, counter. KO was amazing. I think Bo Nickel can have more success in the striking department against Paul Craig. We saw Kyle Barala have good success. And Paul Craig's on a 2-fight losing skid to Brendan Allen and Kyle Barala. He got knocked out by Kyle Barala, so I think Bo Nickel inside the distance is going to be a very good pick. I just don't know if it's going to be a submission or a KO. If I have to pick one, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a KO because we know a guy like Paul Craig is going to want to grapple and he's going to welcome a guy like Bo Nickel to the ground. He's going to be, come in my guard, come in my guard. I'm a butt scoot, come in my guard. I'm gonna butt scoot to you, come in my guard. And a guy like Bo Nickel is not going to probably want to go to his guard, so he's probably going to want to strike, set the distance, set the tone, set the range, manage distance, throw a 1-2 into a single leg, and we know that that's how he does it. Most of the time, he mixes in his takedowns by distracting the opponent with the striking department. So I think he could distract Paul Craig early, maybe even hurt him, get the takedown, try to survive. He survived against Gordon Ryan, so he should be able to maul him. Maybe take the back, find a good rear naked choke. This guy's a -1,000. Give me Bo Nickel to win this fight inside the distance by submission or KO. And give me under 2.5. And give me Bo Nickel by second round KO. Let's get it. Very, very fun card. Bo Nickel's one of my favorite fighters to watch. And we're here. We're here. I got my Charlie Olive shirt that I'm going to wear. I'm going to show it to you guys. I'm going to go get it really quick. So excuse my fucking dog, but I got my Charlie Olive shirt. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown, but I just wanted to show you guys this. So I'm gonna wear that shirt probably for a breakdown, or probably when I collab, or probably when I do my 6 best bets in my lock of the week. But you know I'm definitely gonna wear that shirt on Saturday. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Chandler looks in crazy shape. He's 38. Spent the past couple of his years in his career being fun, and because of that, he's been fun. He's been fun. He spent the last couple of years in his career being fun because he knows that that's how you get paid and that's how you get big paydays. But I think he also recognizes that he needs a win. Michael Chandler, who fights, okay, he needs a win. A Michael Chandler who fights, like, let's say Michael Chandler who fights smart, uses the collegiate wrestling, keeps a high, tight guard. Michael Chandler can win if he fights smart. This fight, but the Chandler who's all fun and aggressive, looking for a good time, bombing away, not wrestling, that Chandler has already lost to Charlie Olives. Chandler been sitting and waiting for Conor McGregor. It's not his fault, because he thought he was going to get that big payday against Conor McGregor, but Conor McGregor pulled out because he broke his pinky toe, and Peloton saved the card. Chandler might be a new version of himself. He's the best shape we ever seen him, and we know sometimes every time it's fight week, we always look at Chandler and we're all like, oh my God, he's so cut. But honestly, this is probably the best I've ever seen Chandler look. He did look a little small, but that means he's ready for the cut. Charlie Olives, one of the most well-rounded fighters on the planet, all-time submission king, has the most submission wins ever in the UFC. He averages 2+ takedowns of his own. Not only does he just get taken down and throw subs off his back, but he'll get some takedowns of his own. He's striking. His striking is very clean, very aggressive. Last time they fought, he sniped Chandler, and he got it done. He's coming off of that loss at UFC 300 to Arman Tsarukyan. Arman won that fight, but he got dicey a few times with a couple of submission attempts. And Arman, he got pants in that fight, and he lost his pants from Chandler is a very good collegiate wrestler, very good power, but you just don't know how good that guy's going to fight again for the 5th time. Again, for the 5th time, Chandler has looked the best he's ever looked physically. No Diddy. I don't know if we can trust Chandler self-control. To self-control his chaos. To self-control himself in the cage. To not do anything stupid and ruin his entire chance to win this fight and give up the entire win. Honestly, we need to see a calculated Chandler just like we've seen a calculated Gaethje. Imagine a calculated Chandler against Oliveira. Just imagine a calculated Chandler against Charlie Olives. Just imagine, bro. But Oliveira is going to be the pick. I know everybody's going to be picking Oliveira. It's going to be a very close competitive fight. But give me Oliveira to win by submission in this fight. I think if he won by KO, he can win by KO or submission, but I think this is going to get very dicey. I'm going to take the over 1.5 if it's there. If it's there, just sprinkle it. We know sometimes the over 1.5 can just go and crash and burn. We saw against Carlos Prates, it didn't hit. But give me Charles the Bronx Oliveira to have a very high guard, start off fast. The only thing I don't like about Charles Oliveira is this guy gets hit way too much. And if he gets hit, he's going to get dropped, and then he has to play that game. I think Iron Michael Chandler has a better chin, but Charles Oliveira has way better recovery. If you hurt Chandler, you're probably going to finish him. We saw Chandler tend to gas. He blew out his entire gas tank in the first round, and then the first couple of seconds in the second round, he got knocked out by a clean, I believe it was a left hook. I'm not sure. Let me just make sure. I believe it was a left hook. It was sniped. It was beautiful, though. Left hook to ground and pound. Yes, round 2, 19 seconds. Shows that Oliveira's a comeback king, and it started it literally started the Olive era. So, give me Charles the Bronx to win this fight. Specifically, I'm going to go submission. I'm going to go 3rd round submission. I think Chandler should be able to last longer than he did the first time around because he's going to be a little bit more calculated, but then eventually his chaos and his self-control just goes out the window, and he throws everything out the window. So give me Charles Oliveira to win by submission, 3rd round. Give me Oliveira to win by submission, 3rd round, sprinkle, and then give me double chance Oliveira to win by KO or submission, and then this fight doesn't go the distance. I don't see this fight going the distance at all. This is going to be a banger 5-round fight. Honestly, I would love for this to be a 5-round war, just an absolute 5-round war. 25-minute, but I think it would be surprising to a lot of us if this fight touches the 4th round. Same with the main event. So give me Charles Oliveira to win by submission, 3rd round. Let's go. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic, main event of the evening, arguably the UFC MMA GOAT versus the literal heavyweight GOAT. Jon Jones is the light heavyweight GOAT. He's probably the greatest of all time in MMA history, but we all know it's Islam. He's literally great everywhere. He's beating more Hall of Famers than anybody else in history of the UFC. He's still the youngest champion of all time. Not now, but he has the record. He's technically undefeated. That one loss where there's a DQ was to Matt Hamill. Fight stats wise, Jon Jones is impressive. More of a 4. He has more than a 4-2 striking differential and a solid 64 striking defense. A national wrestling champion and even out-wrestled Olympian Daniel Cormier. Sorry, I didn't mean to say champion. Jon Jones is good at everything except being a decent human being. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit person, but he's a great fighter. He's taking on the greatest heavyweight of all time, Stipe Miocic, and make what you want with that because it's all opinionated. Who you think the greatest is an opinion, but most title defenses at heavyweight is Stipe. Positive striking differential, very well-rounded, good chin, almost 2 takedowns per fight, but he's coming off of that super long layoff after losing his belt to Francis Ngannou. According to the record book, Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time, but he's also a full-time fireman who hasn't fought in 4 years, and he cannot win this. He's slow, he's old, he's rusty. Jon Jones probably takes him down, does what he wants with him in the first minute, dominates him, and then doesn't need to shoot a takedown. Honestly, he doesn't even need to shoot a takedown to win this fight, but we know he most likely shoots for a takedown. He looks in great shape, but he showed up against Gall. He looked a little soft, a little bloated. But from now on, he looks a little bit better than when he looked. He got into better shape, but he's not cheap. He's a minus 700, but he honestly should be a minus 1500. He will probably be a minus 1500 by Saturday or after the first round. Jon Jones is going to win here, and then we could all argue and debate if he's a coward for not fighting Tom Aspinall. So I didn't really exclude Stipe Miocic, but We have to mention that he's 42 years old and he's coming off a three and a half year layoff. Majority Tapology is going 87% by Jon Jones. I'm actually surprised for the 13%, but I want Stipe to win this fight. I really want Stipe to win this fight, and something's telling me that this fight's going to be very competitive, a lot more competitive than a lot of people expect it to be. And with that being said, give me the over 1.5. You know me. Give me the over 1.5 out of -142. I already saw it. It's already a -142. I already put half a unit on it. If you know ball, you know the over 1.5 is eventually gonna hit, or he gets a first round submission like he did against Eryk. Honestly, this is gonna be a very competitive fight. My most anticipated fight. I like the co-main, but I'm happy that we get to see Jon Jones. I hope he comes out to that walkout. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world that I'm coming home. So I took the over 1.5 out of -148. And will this fight go the distance? No, at a -460. And give me double chance Jon Jones to win by KO or submission at a -250. Honestly, I think Jon Jones should be able to win this fight. But we know that Jon Jones can also win a 25-minute hard-fought decision. He's won that against Dominic Reyes, and he's won that against Anthony Smith, and he's won that against Thiago Santos. Honestly, very competitive fight. He's looked amazing since his heavyweight move, but that was 1 year and 8 months ago. This fight was set to happen earlier, but then it got canceled because Jon Jones pulled out, I think a pec tear. But now he's ready. He has more time. He's been training. And Stipe and Jon Jones have been training for the same guy for almost 2 years now. So this is going to be a very competitive fight, and I think this goes into the second round. I think this touches the second round. I was wrong about Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates touching the second round, and maybe I'll be wrong here, but take the under 1.5 or take the over 1.5. I think it's a good bargain. It's a good bargain, especially at a -700. If you don't want to take the over 1.5 or under, you could take Jon Jones by KO or submission at a -250. I think this fight ends inside the distance, and I think the co-main and the main end inside the distance. It'll be a very competitive fight. Let me know what you guys think. Stipe Miocic is a beast, and I hope his chin holds up, and I hope he just doesn't quit in the first round. Stipe Miocic has never been a quitter, and he's always been a guy to look for a win. He doesn't just give up a win. You will never see Stipe just give up a win. Even in that Francis Ngannou fight, this guy is rocked, and he still rocked Francis Ngannou. He got rocked, and I know what people are going to say, no, Francis wasn't hurt. He got rocked, and then he steps back, plants, and then throws, and he rocked Francis really good, and then he got finished by KO. But the fact that this guy has heart, he's a fireman, one of the first responders, so we have to have respect for him. Win, lose, or draw, I will always be rooting for a guy like Stipe Miocic, and if he can get the job done on Saturday at UFC 309, I will freak out. Let me know what you guys think. I'm going to go Jon Jones by KO or submission at a -250, over 1.5 at a -148. And let me know what you guys think. Gave you guys some good props because they're out right now, so jump on them. There's only so much juice you can get. So let me know if you guys like this. Let me know if you guys want to see more. And I hope you guys are excited. I might have some good content coming out soon, so stay tuned, all right? I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's get it. Peace.